We're going to start in a seated position. We're going to sit on our butt, and then we're just going to do a little knee hug. So with your knees bent, sit onto your butt, and you're just to the best of your reach. You're just going to kind of wrap your hands around your knees, or maybe you'll just hold onto your shins, whatever grab is going to work good for you. And then once you've got a good grab that's feeling good, maybe just make some room for your belly and your chest, and then soften, let your head soften. And then just take a few minutes here to just kind of come into your breath for a minute. Just notice your inhale and notice your exhale. And then as everything starts to kind of quiet down and slow down, take a second to just notice and tune in down to your feet. Are you holding tension in your toes or gripping in your toes and your feet? And can you just let them get nice and soft and heavy? And if it helps to do that, lift your toes, spread them nice and wide, and then let your toes soften back down to the ground. And then let your awareness come up to your calves and your shins, and just notice if you're holding any tension in your calves, if you feel like your muscles are constricted a little bit, see if you can let your shins and your calves soften. And then maybe notice your knees, the tops of your knees, just notice kind of how your knees are feeling. And then maybe with that little crease in your knees, notice the backs of your knees and just see if you can tune in and feel that sense of warmth in that little space where your knees are in that bent position. And then for a moment, go back down to your toes, see if you've picked up any tension there. And if so, let them soften again. And then notice your thighs, the tops of your thighs, the backs of your thighs, your inner thighs, and just notice if you're holding any tension in the muscles in your thighs, can you let your thighs soften? And then as you've started to slow down a little bit more, maybe your breath has started to slow down as well. So see if you can notice that little compression of your belly against your thighs as you breathe in and breathe out. And then as you become aware of the breath in your belly, maybe you'll also notice the breath in the side of your ribs or in the back side of your body. So just see if you can get a sense of that feeling of breath front to back and side to side. And then just notice the back of your neck. Notice how the back of your neck feels. If you feel with your chin tucked down and your head hanging heavy, you are getting a stretch in the back of your neck. Just take a second to notice. And then notice if you are holding any tension in your jaw or between the space of your eyebrows, maybe you can let the jaw go and let your eyebrows soften. And then before we move away from this space, take a moment to set an intention here to honor your mind and your body throughout your practice, never doing anything in your practice that would cause your body pain, and treating yourself with love, care, and respect. And then with that intention set, gently start to lift your head up so your chin is lifting away from your chest. And then you're just going to release and catch hold of the knees. So you're going to step your feet forward maybe just a little bit. And then we're just going to take a few gentle cat cows here. So as you inhale, lift your chest, arch your back, squeeze between the shoulder blades. And as you exhale, round your back, round your shoulders, tuck your chin into your chest. Inhale as you lift. And exhale as you round. Nice. Take one more breath just like that. Inhale to lift. Exhale to round. And then we're going to find a fairly neutral spine and we're going to move right into our Western stretch. So you're going to choose what's going to work for your hands. You might choose to point your fingers in toward your butt, or you might choose to flip your hands and walk your hands back a little bit. So you're going to find the version with the arms and the hands that's going to feel really good to you. And then what we want to find is that little gentle arch of the back. So squeeze between the shoulder blades, lifting the chest. And this is a slightly active position. So in order to keep that little arch in the back, you do need to maintain that little bit of effort of squeezing between the shoulder blades. But once you've found that space, it should be an opening through the chest and the collarbones and that light bit of active work in between the shoulder blades. Where else can you soften? Would it feel good to let your head drop back or tuck your chin down to your chest? Can you soften your toes? Can you soften your thighs? Can you invite a little softness into your belly? And then just do a quick assess. Make sure your wrists feel happy and comfortable in position. And if you feel like you've found a way and then it wasn't quite the right decision, you might choose to reverse, flipping the fingers in or going the other direction, whatever might work for you. But then find that lifted chest, that squeeze between the shoulder blades, and then whichever variation for your head and your neck. You want to make sure that you're breathing comfortably here. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to release. Lift your hands up and then give your fingers a little wiggle, give your wrists a little twirl, just work out anything that may have come across in the wrist. And then give your shoulders a little shrug and just kind of wriggle out anything you may have come across in the front of the collarbones or in the shoulder blades. And then once you feel like you've kind of got all of that worked out, we're going to move right into a ragdoll fold. So rather than a forward fold with our legs super long, you're going to create a nice space. So think about shoulder width distance with your legs, super generous bend in the knees, and then we're just going to fold over, catching hold of the toes. So it's a softer position. So we're not shooting for a stretch in the hamstrings or the backs of the legs. What we're shooting for is a softness and a stretch through the low back. So we want to think about making a little space for the belly, space for the chest, and then a rounding through the back of the body. And if you like that handhold on the toes, cool. If not, your hands can rest just wherever feels the most comfortable. But what we want to really shoot for is softening through your back. softening through your shoulders and softening through the back of your neck. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to come up. We're going to gently come up and then just kind of notice that low back and middle back, and just notice if there's any dull ache. And if there is, just kind of wiggle it around a little bit to just bring a little fluid back into the spine. And then we're going to step the feet in a little bit closer and just take a couple of gentle windshield wipers. The next pose that we're going to go to is going to be shoelace with the legs, or cow face pose, however you like to call your legs. And then eagle arms. So we're just going to make sure we have a little bit of movement into the hips, just noticing how your hips are feeling. And then coming into this pose in any way that you like best. So I have two different variations that I generally tend to teach, but if you like, what's going to happen is you're just going to crisscross your legs so that the knees are stacked and the feet are pointed in opposite directions. If it's easy to come to it from a seated position, you might just crisscross them. But if that feels like it's a little too difficult to get into, then you're going to tuck the knee behind your knee, swing the toes out, and then you'll sit all the way back onto your butt. So that might just be an easier way to get there. But whatever way you get there, the leg that's on top, now that arm is going to be on the bottom. We're going to wrap the arms around into a nice little eagle wrap. And then if you like, you're just going to fold over and you're just going to let your elbows rest gently on your knees, or slightly off of the knees so that your elbow's not poking into your knees. You want to make sure it feels like a fairly nice and comfortable position. So just get yourself so that it's situated nicely, everything feels comfortable. And then you're going to soften between the shoulder blades. Check your legs, check your knees, check your ankles. Just make sure everything feels like it's in a good enough position that you're not having any zinging pain or shooting pain. And then once you've assessed and everything feels like it's in a good position, then just invite that quiet stillness back in. And if your mind starts to wander, maybe you just allow your awareness to come back to your breath, just watching your inhalation and watching your exhalation. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to come up and away. Unwrap your arms, maybe give your shoulders a little shrug. And then we're going to lean back into the sits bones, either swing your legs out or come out in any way that feels right to you. And then just take a couple little swishes of the knee side to side so everything gets kind of soothed out. And then once you kind of feel like you've worked out that little dull ache, then we're going to take it right to the other side. So either just crisscrossing the legs from a seated position, if that feels like a way to go, or take it from your tabletop and then tuck that knee behind so that you can sit back all the way onto your butt. And then you'll rearrange your knees in a way that works best for you. So we want to find that comfortable position and then find that little bit of stillness and then wrap your arms up. And then lean yourself forward just to a point that feels comfortable. We want to let those elbows rest gently. So if they need to be kind of tucked into somewhere that they're cushioned and not poking you, make sure they feel like they're really in a good place. And then once you've found it, come back to that stillness, softening through the back of the body. Allowing your mind and your attention to come back to your breath if your mind starts to wander. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to lift up. Unwrap your arms, shrug out your shoulders, lean back into your sits bones, and then swing those legs out or come out in any way that works good for you. And then just take a couple little shifts of the knees side to side, maybe wiggle out your ankles, wiggle out your toes, any place that might need just a little bit of movement brought back in. And then once you feel like things are feeling pretty good, we're going to step it out into a wide leg position. So a little bit wider than you normally do for our yin practice. So sometimes I say just take it to a lighter point, but take it just a little bit wider. And the only reason I'm saying that is because we're going to rotate. So we're going to rotate towards one leg and then fold over the one leg. So that means that your hips are probably going to rotate just a little bit. And the outer knee that you're not folded towards is probably going to follow you a little bit. So finding that little bit of a wider position might just draw you a little deeper into the fold So soften over one knee, elbows and forearms down or hands to the ground, whatever is going to work for you there. But then just see if you can find a nice soft position. You want to let your nose just reach towards the knee, but not with effort, just softening there. And then the leg that you're not folded over, just real quick, tune in and notice if you're holding tension in the inner thigh, the knee, the foot, or the ankle, allow it all to soften, which means that the foot might turn in and the hip might be slightly rotated, but let it do what it naturally does. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to lift yourself up, rotate back to center, and then just that leg that you were folded over, give that leg a little bounce. Wiggle out your toes, bounce out your knee. And then we're going to take all of that and rotate to the other side. So you're going to keep your legs in the configuration that they're in, but if you need to readjust or anything, take the second to do that. And then when you feel like you're there, rotate towards your other knee, soften over, let your nose soften towards your knee, let your hands find that nice comfortable position. And then the other leg, the leg that we were working on before, now allow that leg to kind of rotate with you. So the toe and the knee might follow you a little bit, the hip might rotate just a little bit. Allow all of that to happen and then invite some softness in. Softness into that leg, softness into the back of your body. Take a moment here to just notice if you've picked up any tension, inner thighs, backs of the knees, or outer edges of your hips. Can you let those places soften? Soften your jaw. Soften your cheekbones, soften the space between your eyes. Take one more breath here. And then slowly start to lift yourself up. Rotate back to center. And then just to kind of even ourselves out, we're going to take this into a little bit of a yang position. So start by drawing the pinky toes back so the inner thighs get a little bit active. And then you're just going to walk yourself out just to a depth that you feel a little sensation in the inner thigh or maybe in the groin. And then pause there for a second. Keep pulling those toes actively back. Take a nice deep breath in. Nice slow breath out. 2 more cycles of breath here. Just the inner thighs are active, pinky toes are pulling back. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, slowly and gently walk yourself back up and in. We're going to catch hold of the backs of the knees, help your legs come together. And then we're just going to take a little bit of a swish of those knees, just kind of see anything out there that you may have come across. From here, we're going to start to find our way back down to the ground. And I'm going to turn my back to the camera just so you can see. We've done this position before, but I just want to make sure that I'm, demoing so you can actually see. So we're going to start on the ground and you're going to just think about laying on your side and tucking your hand between your shoulder blades. And for some of us, this might be a good place to be. You might choose to come down into a reclined position and then keep your hand just there between the shoulder blades and let the top of the shoulder get nice and heavy. But if it feels safe and comfortable to do so, you're going to keep that hand between the shoulder blades and then you're going to roll onto your back. So you're just going to squiggle that hand up in between the shoulder blades just as high as feels comfortable to go. And then you're going to allow a little softness to come in. You might choose to put your legs in constructive rest position or walk them out nice and long, whatever you like with your legs, that's totally up to you. And then we want, especially if you're laying on your back, you want to let that top shoulder or the right shoulder soften down towards the ground. So letting go of any tension that you're holding in the front of the chest or up in your neck, see if you can let all of that area soften. And then if you get there and you're on your back and you're like, nope, that's not the place for me, just roll back onto your side and keep that hand in that position with the top of the shoulder getting soft and heavy. So you choose the variation that's going to work best for you and then find that soft stillness again. We're halfway through our hold on this side. So just do a quick assess and make sure everything's feeling good. Are you breathing comfortably? Nice slow inhalations, slow but natural exhalations. Are you able to soften and relax the shoulder, your neck, and your jaw? If you're not finding quite enough sensation, you might choose to lift up just a little bit and creep the hand in a little bit closer towards the tops of the shoulder blades, but only if you're just lacking any sensation at all. If everything is feeling good, maintain that soft quietness, soften the shoulder, soften your belly, soften your ribs. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly, especially if you're on your backside, slowly and mindfully roll over onto your side so that you can release your arm. And then take a couple of nice, big, generous circles. Move your elbow, move your shoulder, move your hand, wriggle your fingers. And then once you feel like you've worked out all of those little pieces, we're going to take it right to the other side. So you might choose to just roll onto your side, maybe staying in that fetal position, tucking the hand up in between the shoulder blades. But if that's not quite enough sensation and you want that little bit more, you're going to roll over onto your back and then just rearrange, wriggle out your fingers, make sure that your shoulder feels happy, elbow feels good, and then whatever version you like with your legs. So perhaps you're in constructive rest, perhaps you walk the legs nice and long, whatever works best for you so that you can find that soft stillness. Do a quick little assess here and just make sure everything is feeling happy. So sometimes we set expectations. If you did something on one side, you feel like you need to find that symmetry and do the same exact version on the other side, but don't feel like you're be held to that. You can soften or change up anything that you need to, especially since we have variations in our body. So you might have to be a little bit gentle on one side compared to the other. So allow that softness for yourself. If everything's feeling good, you're breathing comfortably, soften your belly, soften your chest, soften your shoulder. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly, gently roll over onto your side. If you're on your back, release that arm and then just give it a little bit of movement. Circle your elbow, wiggle out your wrist, any little bit of movement there that's going to feel good. And then once you feel like you've got that kind of worked out, roll back onto your back, and we're going to move right into a cat pulling its tail. So it's a supine twist, but with that added variation of holding onto your extended leg foot. So start by just pulling both knees into your chest. Give yourself a light little squeeze just to release your low back if you were feeling like it was a little bit in that off kilter position from that crooked position that you were on. And then we're going to take hold of the left knee, right leg is going to go nice and long. Taking the left knee over and across the body. First, you find your supine twist, and then if it feels available, you're going to bend that right knee and your left hand is going to reach down and catch hold of the foot. And then you're going to let your right hand be heavy on the outside of your thigh so that it just creates that nice little bit of weighted tension so the knee gets a little bit softer towards the earth. Once you've got a handhold that's working good for you, come back to that soft stillness. There might be a little bit of efforting in the left hand to hold onto your foot. But even with that, can you soften the top of your right thigh? Can you soften the muscles along your ribs and your belly? Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to release. So if you're holding that right foot, go ahead and gently release it. Pull your left knee up into your chest and then bring the right knee into me. So both knees hug into the chest. Give a light little squeeze just to release the low back. And then we'll take it right to the other side. Hold on to your right knee, let your left leg go nice and long. Take that right knee over and across the body. So we start with the supine twist. And then if it feels available, you bend that left leg and reach down, catching hold of the foot. Left hand is going to rest on top of the outside of the right thigh, which will draw you a little bit deeper. So if you like that little bit of weight of your handhold on the thigh, then you're just going to let the weight of your hand draw you a little softer and deeper into that position. Shoulders are nice and soft and heavy. And there is a little bit of effort of your handhold on the foot. So allow that to happen, but let everything else be as soft as you can. Soften the tops of your thighs. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to release. So if you're holding on to your left foot, start by letting that foot go. Pull your right knee into your chest, bring the left knee into meet, give yourself a nice little squeeze, maybe a little gentle rock side to side. And then our last yin posture we're going to get to tonight is a happy baby. So if you like, take a second to just reset your tailbone, make sure your shoulder blades and your back feel nice and good on the ground. And then we're going to start by just pulling the knees up towards the shoulders in a wider position. So this might be great for you. You might feel really happy here, a little opening in the hips and a super comfortable handhold. You might also choose to let go of the knees and grab hold of the backs of the thighs. And this might be a nice comfortable way to hold on. And then if all of that feels good, but you just want that extra little bit, you can reach up and grab the feet themselves, blade edges of the feet or the toes, whatever handhold works for you. And then we want to see if we can invite some softness in. Softness through the tailbone, the shoulders, knees are heavy towards the earth. And then eyes opened or closed. That'll be totally up to you. This can be kind of a vulnerable position to be in. So make sure that you feel good about the position that you're in. Soften the shoulders, soften your jaw, soften your belly. So especially if you're holding on to your feet with your hands, you might feel a little bit of efforting for your handhold to work. But see if you can still invite some softness in. Notice if you picked up any tension in your inner thighs. Can you let your inner thighs soften? Can you let your shoulders get just a little heavier? And then tune into your head and your neck. If your chin is jutted upward towards the ceiling, can you tuck your chin down slightly, almost as if you're making a little bit of a double chin? And then see if you can come back to your breath. Just take a nice, generous inhale and notice the breath, the physical action of breath in your body. And then as you exhale, can you just let your tailbone and your shoulders get a little heavier? Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, we're going to take a little bit of movement before we release. So start by finding just a little bit of gentle rocking sensation, rocking around the low back, noticing how your hips are feeling, noticing how your knees are feeling, and then maybe inviting some other movement in. So maybe move your knees a little bit, move your feet a little bit. Take one more little bit of movement side to side, and then we're going to release our handhold from our feet or the backs of your thighs, whatever you are holding, and then send your legs up towards the ceiling, and then just start to circle your foot. Just let your feet find sort of an organic movement. So maybe wiggle your toes, point and flex the feet, any little bit of movement that feels nice to your feet and to your ankles. Awesome. Take one more little bit of movement of the feet, and then we're going to float the feet down to the ground. And then once your feet touch down, just pause for a moment. Notice your back, notice your hips, notice your feet, notice your thighs. Take a nice deep breath in. Nice slow breath out. Great. And then from here, we're just going to take a little bit of gentle movement to reset the back, just to make sure that the hips and the SI feel super happy. So heels a little bit close to the butt, hands down alongside the hips, and we're going to move right into a pelvic tilt. As you exhale, you're going to press your low back into the ground. So there's a little tilt of the tailbone upward and an engagement of the quads. And then inhale, release to the natural curve of your back. Exhale, press your low back into the ground. Inhale to release. 3 more just like that. Just move with your breath's rhythm. Exhale as you press the low back down. Inhale to release. One more cycle of breath. Awesome. And then pull both knees back up to your chest. Give a light little squeeze. And then we're going to release our feet as if we were in an upside down tabletop position. Hands are going to find the outsides of the knees. So the knees are going to push out as the hands push in. So you're going to push your knees into your hands and your hands into your knees. And then you're going to feel those hip stabilizer muscles fire on, inner thighs might fire on, outer edges of your thighs might fire on. So push the knees out, push the hands in, take a nice big breath. Exhale, keep pushing out. Nice, and then release, soften, pull the knees into the chest. And then we're going to release back to that tabletop position, but now you're going to bring your hands to the insides of your knees. So hands are going to push out as the knees push in. And you're going to hold that position. So legs are working, arms are working, knees are pushing in, hands are pushing out. Take a nice deep breath in. Keep that action going. Nice slow breath out. Awesome, and then release. Pull the knees into your chest. Give yourself a light little squeeze. Bring it back to that tabletop position. And now left hand is going to come on top of the knee. Right hand is going to reach behind the back of the thigh. So we're going to take an opposite grab here. Your left hand is going to push into your knee as your knee pushes into the hand. And your right hand is going to resist as your right thigh presses down. So now we've got an opposite action going on. Left hand pushing in, right hand pulling in. Take one good breath. Keep that action going. Exhale nice and slow. And then release, soften that action, and we're going to switch. So right hand's going to come on top of the knee, left hand's going to grab behind the thigh. Thigh pushing into the hand, hand pushing into the knee. So we're going to find that opposite action to the other side. So we're pushing our hand into the knee, pushing the thigh into the hand. Everything's working. Hands are working, legs are working. Take a nice deep breath in. Nice slow breath out. And then relax, soften, pull both knees into your chest, give a light little squeeze, and then take those knees, draw them in circles, go in one direction. And then take your knees and draw them in circles, go the other way. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, set your feet down, toe heel your feet to the outer edges of your mat. Take a couple of windshield wipers just to soothe it all out. Make sure your low back feels happy, hips feel good, knees are happy. And then ask your body where would be your best Shavasana. Would it feel good to come to constructive rest, letting the knees drop in towards each other? Would it feel good to take that more traditional shape and walk your feet nice and long? Or would you prefer to roll to one side, flip onto your belly, anything that would allow you to come into a little stillness? And especially if you're in a chilly room, a blanket to keep you nice and cozy is the key. And then once you've got yourself in a position that feels nice, eyes closed or just soften your gaze. Allow your breath to return to its natural rhythm. Soften your palms and the soles of your feet. Soften your fingers and your toes. Let your legs be heavy and your knees be soft. Let your awareness come up to your hips, your low belly, and your butt, and just notice if you're holding or gripping any tension in your hips or in your butt. See if you can just let go. Let everything be soft and heavy. Soften your belly. Release any tension around the belly button. Soften your ribs. Soften your shoulders. Allow your chest to be nice and heavy into the floor. start to bring your awareness back into your body. Become aware of the gentle movement of breath in your body, noticing the gentle rise and fall of your chest or your belly. And then start to gently wake up your fingers, wake up your toes. Maybe invite some gentle movement into your wrists and your ankles, knees and hips. And then if it feels really good to do so, take a big good morning stretch like a yawn, stretching your arms up and overhead and just reaching through your fingers and your toes, taking a nice big breath back into your body. Nice. And then in your own way, at your own pace, slowly start to find your way up to a comfortable seated position. So you might choose to rock and roll up. You might choose to roll to one side, but take your time, nice and slow. Awesome. And then as you come up to that seated position, just take a second, wiggle into your sits bones. And then we're going to just pay attention to the head for a second. So if it feels like your head and your chest are coming forward slightly, bring your heart in line with your hips. And then we're just going to tuck the chin slightly. So imagine you're just making this little tiny double chin. And then once you feel like you've found that, stack your hands right on top of your heart. Take a nice deep breath in. Nice slow breath out. Breathing in love and gratitude for yourself, for your mind, for your body, and the time that you take to take care of yourself. Take another generous inhale, and as you exhale, let your shoulders soften, let your jaw soften, and think about letting go of anything you're holding on to that won't serve you through the rest of your night. And then when you feel ready, gently lift up through the top of your head, gently open your eyes. I bow to you. Happy Monday.